Thanks, everybody, for joining us at a rather extraordinary moment in American history. I'm just delighted to have my very best friends in the U.S. Senate with me today for a very informal discussion on some of the issues that I know that are of concern to everybody out there. Let me just start off by once again talking about why we are in this shutdown. And we are in this shutdown because we refuse to allow the American healthcare system to collapse. We refuse to allow 15 million Americans to be thrown off the health care they have, and another 30 million people to see their rates double, and in some cases more than. I just got, and Peter, my colleague from Vermont knows this, we just got information from the insurance companies in Vermont. It'll vary up and down in different states. In Vermont, we are seeing in Burlington, Vermont, for a family of four, of $129,000. Their premiums are going to quadruple, going from about $900 a month to somewhere around $3,600 a month. That family of four in Burlington, Vermont, will be spending about $55,000 a year on health care. All right? Basically insane. And that is up and down, more or less, what's going on all around the country. So that's going on in Vermont. What's going on in your states, guys?
Well, certainly in my state of Oregon, we are having demonstrations against the federal agents who have come in to provoke violence. And those demonstrations are demonstrations of joy and whimsy, because the people of Portland decided not to take the bait. They understand that the president's trying to create violence and use violence to justify more authoritarian power. And that this idea of deploying our military against domestic demonstrations is a key part of an authoritarian setting the stage for future actions, becoming the courts, giving approval to it, getting the military used to taking commands to go in. And I think the response in Portland has been incredible. Complete restraint, even when provoked by federal agents, proceeding to do things like women coming down doing pastries in pajamas, and folks bringing down their pets and doing paws, as in paws of a dog, paws for peace, and proceeding to dress up as the group of frogs and other characters dancing in the street saying, we are protesting. We're doing it Portland style because we understand what the president's up to, and we're not going to be supporting or helping his authoritarian strategy.
Okay. Maybe back to healthcare for a second,
So,
Tina?
Bernie, as you were talking, I was just thinking about this email that I got yesterday from a Minnesotan, and she said, first of all, she said, I want to write to thank you for fighting for affordable health care. So people, I think, are paying attention to what this fight is all about. They understand that we have a president who's giving tax breaks to, gazillionaires, but can't seem to find the money to lower healthcare premiums for people that are just regular people. So she says, I logged on to my account today and found that my monthly premium is increasing from $1,000 a month, which is a lot, to $3,163 a month. And she says, this is catastrophic. For my husband and I, we can't afford this, and we're going to have to go without health insurance. And so, again, we've been saying that this is a now problem. This isn't something that we can, maybe get around to solving in January or December.
So it's not just Vermont, it's Minnesota, and I suspect it's all of us.
Right.
Tripling of her health care premiums.
Yes.
To be $36,000 a year.
Yes, that's right. And she says, this is really what got me. She was an educator at a Catholic school, and she said that this is more than what her annual salary was when she was a teacher.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. By the way, what's so astonishing about this, Trump has been picking on blue states, want to inflict the pain on blue states. This affects folks who voted for him. I mean, these premiums don't go to Republicans and Democrats. They go to families. They go to teachers. And everyone is going to get hammered on this. And what we're fighting for is health care, regardless of who you voted for.
And 78% of the folks who are on the exchange are in states Trump won.
Yeah.
So we're not advocating for blue versus red values here. We're talking about health care for the entire country.
Exactly.
And it's a bipartisan issue. It's a fundamental foundation for a family to thrive.
Yeah, while we're on that issue, because I think we should hone in on this, because some of us get asked the question, why are you all fighting this fight so much when some of the biggest beneficiaries are people who live in red states? And the answer is, we're not like Trump, right? We don't try to punish people who voted against us. We want to make sure everybody has access to affordable health care. And Peter, when you said that, I've got this list here of the states that are going to see the biggest increases in their premiums. West Virginia, Wyoming, Alaska, Tennessee. These are in order. West Virginia, 387%. We've been talking about doubling, tripling.
And
but
it's
if you go down the list,
West Virginia is a struggling state.
you go down this list, and like the first 12, 14, 15 of the states that will see the biggest premium jumps are red states. But we want to make sure people in red states, blue states, purple states, this is all red, white, blue, right? This is all about Americans.
I mean, honestly, did it ever occur to anybody in this room that we should not worry about people in West Virginia because they voted for Trump or Idaho?
No.
Right.
I mean, maybe we're old-fashioned conservatives who believe that we live in one country, right?
That's
We're all in this
exactly
together. Elizabeth?
But you know, it is about values. You've got that exactly right. So I keep watching right now as people are seeing tripling health insurance costs, quadrupling. But the Republicans, Donald Trump has managed to say we're going to still set aside $20 billion to send to Argentina to prop up Milei, this right-wing buddy who has sucked up to Donald Trump for years, who's in terrible trouble. People of Argentina, it looks like, are going to vote him out. So Trump is willing to rush him with $20 billion. And we learned yesterday that, 20 may not get the job done. So they're going to $40 billion. Now, there are two things to watch about this. The first one is $40 billion when families here in our states are not going to be able to afford health care. The lady you're talking about just says, we'll just have to give it up and hope for the best. $40 billion, what that would mean in our health care system, more than cover all of these, this help for people to be able to pay their exchange insurance policies. But the other half of it is it's not like it's $40 billion to go in and feed poor children in Argentina. This is $40 billion to bail out hedge funds that have invested in Argentine debt. That's what this is about. So it's to come in and exactly. These are Scott Bessent, our Secretary of Treasury's friends, who are now jumping in and saying, we need help in this because they had invested for money in Argentine debt.
And
so
doesn't
Trump,
he own a lot of land in the Dakotas, a lot of farmland?
He owns a lot of farmland
Thousands of acres,
in the northern tier of this country. That's exactly right. But finish, Elizabeth,
No,
because I want
but
to get
your
in on this
point-
because I think this is so important.
your point is a good one because this is about, you think of a president of the United States is supposed to be watching out for us, for all of us,
Wait
right?
a minute.
What was it?
America first!
Oh,
Did I hear that one?
It sounds
Okay,
like
so
Argentina comes ahead of the United
It's
States. in this house.
Argentina then America.
So let me tell you how this is going over in Minnesota right now. So we know like roughly a quarter of American farmers, family farmers, are buying their health insurance on the exchange. So they're getting walloped by these big insurance premium increases. But at the same time, Minnesota soybean farmers are just creamed because they have no markets for our soybean products because of Trump tariffs. And so when they read in the morning newspaper that Donald Trump is sending $40 billion to Argentina, and that is actually where China is turning to buy soybeans because the U.S. market has been ruined for by Donald Trump.
No, that's
and
exactly
so it's
right.
just like it's just too much. It's just too much.
Connect the dots on the timing.
Yeah.
Argentina cuts a deal with China to say to China, in effect, you've been buying from those American farmers all those years. Well, now you're facing tariffs. There's a lot of turmoil in the United States thanks to Trump. How about cut a long-term deal with us and leave those American farmers to let their soybeans rot in the field?
And by the way, that's the market that our Midwest farmers used to sell to.
Exactly right.
It was like
Exactly
40%
right.
of their crop.
But-
They
So
get all
they
of the
have
difference.
raced in-
They haven't sold a bushel of soybeans.
That's right. But the
to China.
Argentinians have raced in. They've taken that market, locked that market up, and once that deal was in place,
Yep.
then Trump said $20 billion for Argentina and is now raised
But
it to
I think
40.
on this point, it's worth coming
Yep.
full circle, because we're talking about healthcare costs that
Yep.
are about to spike. But we're also seeing rising costs around the country
Yep.
because of the Trump tariffs. And this
That's
is the
right.
guy who said on day one he was going to bring down prices and costs. He's done the exact opposite, and now they're going to allow this huge spike in healthcare costs. But when he put those across the board tariffs in place, not only is that a national sales tax, it comes out of the pocket of every single American, but China responded by saying, well, if you're going to impose greater tariffs on us, we're not going to buy so many of your soybeans. So that punished American farmers. And to add insult to injury, China then decided to buy from Argentina, and then Donald Trump and Scott Bessent bail out Argentina. This all comes back to the Trump policy of across-the-board tariffs that are punishing the American people. And for God's sakes, you said you weren't going to allow, you were going to bring down prices. You haven't done that. But when it comes to healthcare, you're about to increase costs to
Right.
the American people, in this case, 2, 3, 4 times. So for God's sakes, at least do no harm. That's
So
all.
Bernie,
Yeah.
so thank you. So they're high-fiving in Buenos Aires today. They're very happy on Main Street in Buenos Aires. Thank God Donald Trump has arrived to bail us out. We were about to have a crisis here in that country. Meanwhile, in Burlington, Vermont, they're getting notices that their health care costs are going to skyrocket.
Yep.
And in Worcester, in Baltimore, in Minneapolis, in Portland, they're all getting these notices that they're going up and that people are going to lose their health insurance. So I just released a report yesterday where 10 million American small businesses or their employees are right now going to be losing the Affordable Care Act support for their health insurance. And those rates are going to skyrocket. So those are American businesses. Is Donald Trump
No, it's,
going to step in to help our American small businesses? And by the way, they're Rotarians, they're Kiwanians, they're the local Chamber of Commerce. They are the heartbeat of the American economy, and they're about to see pretty much an extinction experience. And especially for black and brown and small minority businesses in our country, they live on the edge. If you have a dramatic spike in their health insurance, it's going to be catastrophic. And what the Republicans are doing is they're not even in Washington in the House of Representatives.
Say that
They're-
again. I want everybody to know.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of a major shutdown. Obviously, there are intense negotiations going on because the Republican Speaker of the House understands how important the situation is. Where are they, actually?
But right now, they're in a political witness protection program somewhere in America. They're all out. They refuse to come to Washington. They're absolutely not to be found. We're waiting here to negotiate with them over those.
They've been on vacation for a month.
Right.
And what they want the Democrats to do after they engage in the biggest financial healthcare heist of all time is that we should drive the getaway car for them. We should just go along with their bill that's going to allow for this economic catastrophe on Main Street all across America, while in Main Street in Buenos Aires, they're high-fiving. Thank you for helping our businesses, but the American businesses are about to have a catastrophic economic event that will
I
change
want to
their
go
lives.
to a point that Elizabeth raised last week. I mean, all of us understand the tragedy of what it means for people to see a doubling, tripling, quadrupling of the healthcare costs, people losing healthcare. But there's another point out there, the ancillary effects of these massive cuts in terms of nursing homes,
Yep.
community health centers, rural hospitals. Who wants to jump in on that one?
you know,
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
I want to go back to the farm situation because I think no.
All right.
And
That's how leadership works.
but it is rural America where we all know people really work hard. They care about their neighbors. Okay, so the healthcare, those farmers in the Midwest depend on the tax subsidies so they can buy private insurance. Number two, the tariffs have increased their costs. The tractors are more expensive, the seed is more expensive, the fertilizer is more expensive. And then 3, the tariffs led directly to them losing their biggest market. And number 4, we've created a market for Argentinian farmers. So when this is over, those markets are gone. They don't come back. And the catastrophic design of this couldn't have been better produced to inflict more pain. And it's on folks who are largely Trump supporters. And this is the payback they get. And with the other ancillary effects. which
Good,
no-
all right, let's get there. All right.
Getting there.
Look, all I would say.
No, but it's the
One
community
second.
hospitals in rural America play a major role in that community, and they do in Vermont, Bernie.
One of the things that I find really upsetting, we are the richest country on earth, and the way we treat elderly people, disabled people in nursing homes is beyond disgraceful. I don't know about your states, but in Vermont, nursing homes are shutting down, they're understaffed, underfunded.
Well, yeah, I mean, they called it their big beautiful bill. It was beautiful for billionaires. For everybody else, it sucks. When they cut Medicaid, they cut the primary insurer for nursing homes.
Right.
Right? Most people in nursing homes are covered by Medicaid. So
2
when
out of
they
3.
whack Medicaid, they are essentially making it much harder for people to be able to go to a nursing home. And nursing homes are already, as we all know,
Yeah.
completely underfunded, and in so many cases, an unacceptable situation for our seniors. So they've taken that, made it worse. They're also closed, rural hospitals are going to close around the country. All of that, again, as you said, Bernie, at the beginning, to provide billionaires
Right.
and very rich people with a huge tax cut. In fact, they extended tax cuts for the billionaires and the very wealthy in their so-called big beautiful bill. The one tax cut they did not extend
Right.
was the tax premium support that allows middle-class families
Right.
to afford health insurance. That's the one tax cut they let expire. They let that ticking time bomb go boom, boom, and it's going to explode if we don't deal with it.
And, by the way, one of the things that is driving up healthcare costs are the Trump tariffs.
Right.
Because a lot of medical supplies, pharmaceuticals, other big expenses of rural hospitals and nursing homes have this tariff on top of them, which means that everything costs more. And, I just want to debunk this one thing that our Republican colleagues have been saying. They're saying, the Democrats are insisting that we roll back this $50 billion in support for rural hospitals. So everybody should just know that this is total nonsense, because they put in this sort of special program for rural hospitals. They needed to do that because they screwed rural hospitals by cutting $150 billion out of Medicaid, which is the insurance that rural hospitals count on. So do not fall for this story that they are pushing out there, because it's just complete bullshit.
But in addition, what you were trying to do is just make sure that all undocumented people in this country,
Right.
isn't that the other thing?
That's right. And people, they're still pushing out that story, even though it is completely debunked. The federal law says that you cannot use federal funding to provide health insurance to people who don't have documents, who are here illegally. And so it's just that they're falling back on this nonsense because they know that they are losing the argument with their base voters who are looking at their health care costs going up and can't afford it.
I want to move on to what Jeff started a moment ago, but before we do that, let me I think I speak for everybody here. We all understand that before the big, beautiful bill, before the massive cuts to healthcare that Trump is pushing, our current healthcare system is broken, is dysfunctional, and we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee healthcare to all people, despite spending twice as much as any other country. So we are aware of that. I think I speak for everybody here who believes that healthcare is a human right, and that's where we got to go. But right now, the immediate struggle is to see that the current healthcare system, as bad as it is, does not collapse completely.
If I was to summarize what the conversation has been about, 9 months of the Trump administration making Americans sicker and poor. That's been his agenda. Families lose and billionaires win, as Chris pointed out. But it's also about this authoritarian takeover, because we're discussing tariffs, but the fact is there is no law that gives the president the ability to set tariffs. That's why we've seen no other president do that. We're discussing sending $40 billion to Argentina, but there is no law that said send $40 billion to Argentina. And I want to keep reminding all of us and across America, what we're seeing is a president acting like a king, ignoring the laws that apply to the executive branch, like you can't fire inspector generals, but also stealing the power of the purse. And this is so important because a fundamental difference between a democracy and a strongman authoritarian state is that the Congress, representing the people, that decides what programs will be funded and how much, or is it the head of the executive branch, the president or whatever title you give it. And so we have seen through the strategies Trump has been doing of slowing down funding, freezing funding, impounding funding, running out the clock on the fiscal year and saying, poof, sorry, that funding, well, there was nothing that reversed the law that said, well, I was supposed to spend it, but the year is out, so it's gone. And then getting support from the Supreme Court for that strategy, which is, you compile these things, underlying all the battles we're talking about, is we have to fight to restore our democracy. We are in the middle of an authoritarian takeover. It is no small thing, the biggest threat to our republic since the Civil War, and we have to stand up, exercise our oath as senators, and reclaim this country for government by and for the people.
Right. But part of what Donald Trump is trying to do as his vengeance tour is that because we have stood up and fought back, he says he's firing thousands more federal workers. And he's already been through with Elon Musk and the chainsaw, tried to cut down branches of government that work for the people, like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and just lay people off everywhere he could. I think we all have to be clear on this. It was illegal when he did it when government was open, and it is equally illegal when he does it when government is shut down. But this is about Donald Trump believing that the state, the power of government, is his to be used for the vengeance he wishes to wreak on whoever he sees as those who cross him, those who stand up to him, and the power of taking U.S. taxpayer dollars and shooting them off to Argentina or wherever else Donald Trump wants to send them. And you are right, Jeff. That is the action of a king. And we don't have kings in the United States. We need to remind Donald Trump of that.
Yeah, so we've got a crisis right now, and these hedge fund guys, they want to get their payback for their support for Donald Trump in the election. And the three top hedge fund managers in America made more money last year than all 120,000 kindergarten teachers in our country combined. Okay, who did more for our country last year? Like those 120,000 kindergarten teachers or three hedge fund guys? They're the ones that are going to get bailed out in Argentina and here. And simultaneously, he wants to destroy the entire Department of Education and the EPA, take that funding, and then with a Robin Hood in reverse strategy, give all that money in tax breaks to billionaires and millionaires, to hedge fund guys. And so health is the first wealth for every family. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. And so they're looting that by the tens of millions in our nation, and all of that wealth, that health, is going to those billionaires, and that's what this fight is all about. It's all about this transfer of wealth into the hands of the wealthiest, and it is just Robin Hood in reverse. And the Sheriff of Nottingham, on behalf of King John, is now latter day these hedge fund guys and King Donald Trump trying to do the same thing, and to take from the poor to give to the rich.
You know, Eddie, just to make you feel worse, this isn't bailing out the hedge fund guys. It's enriching the hedge fund guys. They buy the debt like at 20 cents on the dollar because it's going south. Well, with the bailout, it means they may get $1 on the 20 cents. So this is a total sweetheart deal.
Just like the taxes.
Well, we remember on Inauguration Day, right, when he told the American people it was going to be a new golden age for America. But the people he was really talking to were the people sitting right behind him, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, the other billionaires. This cabinet is
We
just
made-
filled
we
with
made
these
more than
cabinets.
all
The
of
ones with the
richest.
gold.
Right, the ones with the gold. That's what he means by golden age.
Yeah.
More gold for the already rich in
Right.
America. And he is determined to shut down all opposition. I mean, that's what authoritarians do. And,
Right.
Elizabeth mentioned, we don't believe in kings in America. So tomorrow, everybody will have a chance to say we don't have kings in America. And why this is important, though, is Donald Trump is trying to use intimidation and the force of the federal government to silence people and get them to shut up. And so it's really important that everybody speak out loudly and also take actions, peaceful actions, to demonstrate that we won't support a king. And I've said this before, but I do think it's important that we call out those who capitulate. Because when
Right.
big institutions with lots of resources, whether they're law firms
law
or
firms,
universities or
universities.
whoever they may be, when they cave in to the bully just gets hungrier. And they're putting the rest of our rights at risk. And so this is a moment where everybody's got to stand up. I saw that list of all these billionaires and companies that were going to finance the new Trump ballroom at
They're
the
having
White
dinner
House.
with them
Right.
tonight.
So but this is an example of what's the problem is. And we need all of those organizations, those businesses to say, our democracy
That's right.
means more to us than making money. Unfortunately, that's not their view. Their view is making billions is more important than our democracy. That's why all of us and people all over the country need to stand up.
I said,
I'm ready.
I just want to maybe end on the note that Ed raised. Every day there's something else, and people are distracted and overwhelmed. But I want you, and Chris made this point, I want you to think back to Trump's inauguration, who was standing right behind him. The richest people in the country. And 10 months later, how are those people doing? They have been making zillions and zillions of dollars. They're doing phenomenally well. How you doing? How you doing when you walk into the grocery store? Can you afford decent quality food for your kids? What about your rent? What are you paying? 40, 50% of your income in rent? And now you're dealing with health care? Double, triple, quadruple, or maybe you're going to lose your health care at all. So in the middle of all of this distraction, this flooding the zone, a new crisis every day, pay attention to the fundamental issue. The billionaire class has never, ever had it so good. They are funding Trump. They are delighted. And you and all of us are struggling. So I think Chris said it best. We got to stand up. We got to fight back. Too many Americans fought and died to defend American democracy. We're not going to let Trump and his oligarchic friends take it away from us.
Right.
On that note,
Thank
thank
you.
you
On
all
that
guys.
note,
All right.
standing up is
Yep.
patriotism.
Great.
Thank you.
Like that.
thank you.
Yep.